What's up, everybody? We'll give people a couple of minutes to trickle in here. Little impromptu Sunday study for me. I was on vacation last week, wrapped up August, really good month for me overall, but my month did kind of slow down as it went on. And just being on the travel setup felt out of place a little bit, and so was back at my setup Friday, was super excited to trade. But it was a tough trading day, and so it really just kind of reminded me that, like, even though I've had some recent success, it's time to stay on the gas and keep working hard, keep improving, and keep pushing for those next levels. So, doing a little studying myself today, figured I'd stream and let you guys join me. I've already done a little bit of work on a watch list, so I want to go over those first for next week, Tuesday. So let's jump right in. All right, I'll go to. If there are any issues with my stream while I'm going over this, just pop in the chat and let me know what's up, and I'll try to get it fixed. So one thing I did this weekend, I readjusted my active trader setup here. What I noticed was I was having a lot of trouble seeing levels on the bigger charts. I've always had a small daily chart on my active trader setup, but it's never been positioned right or scaled right to where I can get much data from it. And I also use the hourly a lot. Okay, so I went ahead and added a bigger hourly chart, a bigger daily chart, kind of adjusted around my active trader here a little bit. So now I've got the hourly ready to see, I've got my daily ready to see, I've got my 1 and 5 coordinated right here to see. So going through my, we'll go alphabetical order here on my watch list. Probably got 15, 20 names, something like that. First thing, Ahi. This name has run a couple times. I don't love this chart right now, especially how it gave back everything end of day Friday, but it's still holding up over some key levels. If we look on the daily here, we've got some pivots that I've marked. It hit that 180, broke 2, and then gave it all back. I'm leaving this on my watch list just because it's a recent runner, and just because it is continuing to hold this like 106 area. Below 106, I'm not as interested, but if it can firm up over 106 and kind of start trading in this area, I might be watching it for another move back to test 180. But again, I don't love this chart, not one of my favorites. Let's go to, and no, for that reason, let's mark this level here. I want to put some alerts in as well. So I'm gonna create an alert 134 crosses above. Great. So now, if that gets back above there, I'm interested, right? All right, next one, ALLK. This one, had a big volume day. The daily. Let's expand this a little bit here. Kind of have this little flag above this pivot here. All right. On the daily, 445, and we've got this nice sideways consolidation on the hourly above that 445 support. Okay, that's really the only reason I'm interested in this. I'm gonna put an alert here at 5 psych level, because if it gets up in those areas, like imagine this, right? If this pops up and has some volume and then sets up a flag above 5, above these two pivots, pretty good, right? All right, so ALLK is on the list. Next one down. AREC. I like this one. Was a bigger volume mover here on whatever day this was. It's kind of consolidated sideways. Had a pretty nice day Friday, even though the market was down. So that's pretty encouraging. This 345 level is important. Let's mark a level here on the daily. 345. We want to see the break above that. This could also kind of flag above this 320, but really this 310-ish area here. Oh, it's the wrong place. Let's remove that. This like 310-ish area here, 308 or so. That's kind of support. We want to see what happens in this range, see if we get any kind of bullish movement here. So I'm going to do an alert above 345. So we know if that happens. I'm also going to do an alert below 308. And then we'll just keep this on watch and see what happens and sets up if we set up for a break of 345 and continuation. On the daily, in the last 52 weeks, I mean, we're at highs. So I don't know how far back this goes, but like we could continue here. So that's what I'm watching for. So the daily is price indicator populates a price line that moves the current price. Yeah, cool. Send it to me, Steven. I did some cool stuff with my scripts too. I added these in here. A guy on Twitter sent them to me. Really, really slick TOS script maker. But this 52-week volume, I'm always interested in how a stock is trading on the day versus its 52-week volume. If you're at or above 52-week volume, especially early in the day, it's a big sign that a bigger move could be coming. So I like that script on here. Okay, next one, AUR. This one, it had its first day Friday. And it had that potential news from Microsoft or Google or something, I don't know, where they said they were gonna maybe get acquired. I don't know. I don't really know what the news was, but it was enough to give it some volume and people got some attention in it. On the daily here, let's look. Big volume candle, day one move. I've got some levels marked in here to play off of, but really I'm just keeping this one on the back burner because I think, this probably gets like a day two just sideways consolidation. If it holds those levels and maybe gives us an inside bar, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So probably not in play for Tuesday, but I'm going to have it on the watch list just in case. AVYA. Sorry guys, I'm going quickly through this. I've already done some setting of this, just quickly going over what's on the watch list for Tuesday. I can do more in-depth analysis on it later if we have specific questions. AVYA, look at this consolidation going above this 165 pivot here. If we look here, we filled the gap on Friday to 203, okay? So that was the target. This could just come all the way down from there, but this held up over 165 into Friday. Let's see if it bases sideways here. We could even come down and test these pivots here. It was 146. Okay, let's mark it. Yeah, what's up, Maple? So anything kind of above this 145 area, I'm going to keep on watch. We also kind of have a trend. Let's draw a trend line here. Kind of also have a trend line. Maybe it respects this from down there. And if you want to do this pivot here, I like to draw multiple trend lines just to keep an idea of what's going on. Okay, so filled the gap. Maybe we come down, but as long as it's holding over support levels, keep it on watch. All right, BORR. I randomly found this on my Finviz scanner. Look how this is just kind of poking over these support levels. We have a gap to fill here. Let's mark this. 486, the start of the gap. We fill it 539. Some increasing volume here on Friday for the break level over 447. Look how on the hourly, we almost have this like kind of, and it shows it here on the 1 and the 5, kind of this like ascending triangle look here for the breakout, right? I'm interested in this. Over 450, let's put an alert here over 450. Over 450, maybe we go test this gap entry, this 486, and then maybe we fill a gap to 539. Have no idea about the fundamentals of this chart. No idea why it's up or whatever, but the chart looks good. So maybe we get some continuation. I'm going to be watching for some sort of setup on this thing. Higher volume. Maybe we set up over this 440. Maybe we hold this 430 area that held for this ascending triangle. That's probably really my risk that I'm going to think about on this. Want to see what kind of attention it gets on Tuesday morning. Maybe it gaps up. Maybe it holds support and goes, but I'm going to be watching that one. Okay, next. CFVI. This is definitely one of my favorite charts going into Tuesday. Really nice daily flag here off the 8 on the daily. Held it, put in this leg. Now we have this hourly cup and handle look. Hourly setups are my favorite ones to be watching at pre-market and at the open for continuation moves. So this one, so if we mark some levels here, Let's do this like 1140. Let's do this like 1125. I'm seeing some support in there. So maybe we get something to set up off these support levels, and flag and then do the break. So the high on Friday was this like 1194-ish area. We have 1222. Just marking my levels here. So high watch for me on Tuesday to see what happens. Maybe we base out in here in pre-market. Maybe we get a move at the open, maybe even before the open. This thing could gap straight up. Who knows? But really nice setup here. Support levels to play off of. Let's see how this cup and handle on the hourly plays out for us. Really nice look here. Okay. How often do these gaps get filled, especially with high momentum stocks? I don't have that data on how often they get filled. Lots of market conditions matter. Like Friday, SPY just sold off like really fucking hard, right? That affected everything at the end of the day. Everything got really slow. It's a big reason I was red because I kept fighting the market and I should have just walked away. Thiz and I were talking about that after we both ended Red Friday. Like we were talking about playing Fall Guys middle of the day. I was down like I don't know $500 and I ended down like $2,000. So should have done that. But anyway, how often they get filled? I don't know, but they like to fill gaps. It's a good thing to keep in mind. It gives you your targets. It gives you levels to play off of. It gives you some psychological input on what other traders will be thinking. So that's kind of the deal with gaps. Yes, I look for flags on the 5 minutes. We'll get into that. Okay, so CFVI, one of my favorites. Next one, drug. Drug, it's kind of on this little like backside deal, but look, we got this really low volume pullback on the daily, another big high volume push here, but it kind of sold off. This thing has just been in play for so many days in a row. It's just still on the watch list. I wouldn't say that it's especially a great setup, but let's see if it holds here. Maybe this like 170 kind of not really an inverse head and shoulders level, but like let's see if it like holds there and then maybe wants to bounce. If this thing can find some support somewhere and then curl back up into this 235 240 area against this triple top, then I'm interested, right? That's what let's go ahead and put this alert here. So if I alert 235 crosses above, okay, I'll get an alert when this moves back up. I'll go ahead and do 215 just so it's on my radar. Crosses above. Because I want to be notified if this thing gets strong again. If this thing comes back, like look at this, it'll be a really ugly kind of inverse head and shoulders if we come up and we hit this 240 area. If that happens, okay, then I'm very interested in buying dips for the break of 240 and a move back up to 3. Okay. Until then, not that interested. Let's see. Zagreus, good to see you, man. Flipping burgers. What's up? Stephen Baker, what's up, dude? Little Scalp a lot. What's up, man? Okay, FRGE. Next one. It just got a volume pop. Kind of is putting in maybe a little inverse head and shoulders look on the hourly. I would like to be in for the breakout Uzis. I'm interested in a pullback to it if that happens, but a setup like that, if it starts getting strength and sets up for that flat top break, I like to be in for flat top breaks. And if I get that move through, I'll scale some and then I'll add some on the dip if I'm already in. I like to play it both ways. So okay, FRGE, if we look on the hourly, kind of have this like little almost inverse head and shoulder setup, kind of a little bit similar to what I want to see on drug. Push back up towards this 450 area. If that happens, maybe we get a setup for the break back above 450, test 5 and above. I don't know. Kind of just got this one on the back burner too. It's not my favorite setup, but it got some volume on Friday, and we'll see if it continues this push. Let's go ahead and put a 450 alert just so we know if it gets strength again. I'm expecting to sell off, not really going to pay too much attention otherwise. HOLI. We had this gap up move on high volume above 18. Some pretty nice action through the day, just holding up. So we'll see if this has any continuation after this high volume day. Could be another one that's kind of simmers and gives us an inside bar. So we'll see. Going to keep it on watch for that reason. INAB, this one has just held up sideways. If we zoom out on the daily just a little bit, you know, this looked great Friday for that inside bar move to keep going. And then let's see, was that Friday? No, it was Thursday that gave us that inside bar. Never really gave us the real breakout. Friday sold off, but it's held this 240 support. I'm going to give it a chance to hold this 240 support, but if it breaks down below that, not really interested anymore. LQDA, this is a swing of mine. It's a really interesting fundamental setup here. Been kind of keeping up with this like patent lawsuit deal that's going on with it. I started buying back in low fives and in the fours on this day because they got bad news on this day. Their stay or whatever was not granted, so they can't go to market quickly with their drug. And then this day they actually got good news. This big drop, they got good news that this 66 whatever case patent thing is removed, which was good news. People sold off. Kind of an interesting dynamic there. What I think is happening is short-term catalyst investors are exiting the position, and long-term investors that see the potential of this drug in this kind of one-year timeline are entering here. So I've been buying dips on this thing. I'm going to continue to buy dips on this thing. So anyway, not really like a great chart setup here, but something that I'm personally keeping my eyes on. Okay, Nerve. Next one on my list. This thing just continues to not die. I mean, if you saw this daily, if you saw this chart here we have on the daily on like a 5-minute, you'd be interested, right? Like, I don't love that it made a new high and stuffed and came back down, but look at this VPA, right? We got high volume pushes up, low volume pull back. Here we've got 860 pivot as support. So far we're holding it. So I'm very interested in this. This could easily base right here and start to move back up. So I'm watching this. We even got, this is a very rangy stock is the thing. So this is one you don't want to get too heavy on. You don't want to size too early on, especially if you're waiting to find a base on an hourly or a larger time frame setup. So here, that 860 is that pivot that I'm really interested in. If we base sideways here, kind of got this like downtrend line too. I'm going to be keeping an eye on. So this thing could definitely curl and go. So that's why it's on watch for me. Kind of had the 8 on the daily catching up here, which is nice too. Okay, let's see. What's next? NUWE. This one, not really like an inside bar, but kind of like this little low volume consolidation. The 8 on the daily's catching up. The hourly's kind of, going sideways. We kind of found this base, did a little pop up, and then we're kind of basing a little higher. So, really just if we stay over this 108-ish level, even 1, I'm going to keep it on watch to see if we get strength again. I'll go ahead and put an alert on this 28 level if it crosses above. So that one's a recent runner. Still on the watch list for me. PRTY. This is one of my favorite daily setups. If you look, we still have a gap on the daily that's not been fully filled yet. Let's see where the fill is. Okay, fill at 3 basically, and we haven't filled it yet. Okay, nice flag on the daily that's slowly kind of just consolidating above this 183, above the gap entry, right? A little bit more volume on the curl. So look, we have this flat top going here, kind of on the hourly around this 220. That's going to be a big break level. Almost have like an inverse head and shoulders look here. So if we consolidate above this 2 level, I like this to set up for the 220 break, and then maybe we grind up and test 3 and fill the gap. Okay, so good one to keep on watch here. Let's see. All right, Pxmd. This one got a lot of volume on Friday. It's a recent IPO or uplist or something. I don't know. There's no chart data on the daily really, but it got lots of volume. We kind of broke over this 5 area. Really whippy on Friday. It was the headache name to me. I did not really play it that well. I caught a few of these moves, but also got chopped on a few of these moves. You can see all my trend lines on the chart. Kind of hated trading this thing. And the way that it sold off on Friday, that's got to recover a little bit before I'm interested again. Otherwise, this is going to look very backsidey from this move that happened right here. now that we broke this active trend we had going, now we're in backside. Even if this pops back up here, we're kind of in backside. I need this to go and test this high again and set up, and then maybe it's not backside. Maybe we get back up, test 10s again. Okay, let's see. We're in the P's. I'm going alphabetically. Someone asked about PSTV. I'm not familiar with PSTV. I'm not going to deviate from what I'm going. Let's look quickly, see if the chart looks nice. It's okay. Kind of got this consolidation here. If you're waiting for a catalyst, that's not something I know about, so I won't speak on it. Okay. Let's go to RVPH. Okay, RVPH. It's got this trend going on the daily, right? Got a nice push up, low volume pullback to the 80 MA on the daily, nice volume push up to $3, lower volume pullback here. The 8 is caught up, another trigger candle here on the daily. The interesting thing about what happened here on Friday is a couple things. SPY shit the bed. The whole market sucked, and this thing just kept floating on air upwards, right? So that's interesting. Two, it's a low volume push up, so that gives us less conviction in the strength of it, but the pattern held up. I mean, it's nice. We got this pivot here now. Let's mark it. 240 there. And now we've kind of got this little flag setting up on top of it. So let's see if we hold 240. Let's see if we hold the whole dollar psych level 2. We'll put an alert right there. Ooh, I need to mark this. Yeah, 2. And then, we want to ultimately get the 275 break. So I'll put an alert with this one too. Crosses above. Okay. All right. So RVPH, also the recent previous high, 310. So strong chart, worth keeping your eyes on. Do you have trouble getting to plays like RVPH when the volume is so low, even the daily looks great? Yeah, I do. So when you talk about how you play this, right? Look how nice of a move this made. I know Herv was swinging this and just kind of rode a core position all the way up, and it did great for him. But that's kind of how you have to do this. I mean, these candles, barely any of them are breaking 25,000 or 50,000 on the 1 minute. So not a ton of volume. I mean, you would not call this momentum. I mean, maybe you see this ascending triangle set up and you kind of risk 225 and you grab some, and then you're able to slowly ride some up. But this is not an active momentum scalp type name. So it is tough. You got to decide how you want to play this. Are you going to play smaller and give it more room and play this larger pattern and let it grind for you? Or are you going to try to find, the shorter time frame pops, like maybe this one, maybe you liked this flag here or something, right? But yes, they're tougher. I like when they get in breakout mode and they give us intraday momentum. Okay, let's see. VWAP. I'll go over some of these type of questions after I finish this watch list, Stocks 36. Okay, last one on my watch list is USEA. Kind of had a day one high volume pop here, small, range on the daily, but we did get nice volume and it is kind of starting to consolidate. We'll see. This is just to see what it does, and maybe it gives us an inside bar if it holds up or whatever. You can see, guys, some of these names on my watch list are not ones that I plan to necessarily trade on Tuesday. They're ones that I'm letting simmer to see, how they set up, but I don't want them to be completely off my radar. That's everything on my watch list, guys. Those names that I just went over, I can post a tweet or something with what they are later, so you have reference for them. Another thing here, let me show you really quick another thing that I just started doing here. If you look at my my thumbnail setup, my top thumbnail setup, that also has my watch lists. Couple things. Let me drag this down so you can see it. Okay, so I have my daily watch list. This is the list that I just went over with you guys. Something that I added here, I've got volume on the day. I've got what the 52-week high volume is, because again, I like to compare current volume versus 52-week high. And then, what I've made on these names, and I like to see if it's hard to borrow, easy to borrow. But the big thing that I want to show you is I started making a watch list for it's kind of a rolling watch list for the past week. Okay, so what did I trade last Monday? These names. What did I trade last Tuesday? These names. What did I trade last Wednesday? These names. You get the idea. So what I'm going to do here is I'll clear Monday because Monday we don't have the market, but like on Tuesday, I will clear this. And as I trade a new name, I'm going to add the name to my Tuesday watch list. So then, as I go forward through the week, I can remember, what did I trade Tuesday? What was that name that ran a couple days ago? Whatever. And then even on the weekends, and this is what I did this weekend when I created this watch list, a week time frame is a pretty good time frame to go back and look at what ran and if anything held up. So this gives me the ability at the end of the week to go back and see, okay, Monday, let's go through these charts. Tuesday, let's go through these charts. And that's how I'm going to formulate this. And I think that's a pretty good process to have. So anyway, let's get back to this other view here. Okay, let's look at the chat here. Out of 3 million USEA. Okay, yeah. Do you scale profits after hitting your initial target or on the way up? Been struggling with letting green trades go red after they fade after rejecting initial price targets. Yeah, let's talk about that, Butter Reasons. I'm gonna go straight into sharing with you guys my screen record from Friday. And I'm just gonna let this play, and we can sit here for like an hour if we want to and just watch how I traded the open on Friday, because I made a lot of mistakes, I missed a lot of opportunities, and so this is an exercise for me also to review where I can improve and why I did what I did and what I want to focus on come Tuesday and into this next week. And I hope that it will be helpful for you and we can just kind of, look at it together. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't miss any other questions here. Yes, I post stocks that I'm going to trade in the Discord. Yes, Stephen Baker, thank you so much for sending Richard the Red. He did make that script for me. I love it. I added it to my charts. The 52-week high volume is something that I think is important to keep tabs of. Okay, so let's jump into my screen record. The first thing I was looking at was AVYA. You can see this nice trend going on the 5. I will have to reference what was going on the daily and hourly on my other charts. This is why I just redid my setup so that I can see a little bit better. But so on Friday, nice move out of the gates. We had this kind of consolidation above this, 185-ish area, and you can see already I had a position here, 5,000 shares, and honestly, I just got scared out of it. And you know why? Because right at the open, things are volatile. All I could think about was the downside potential that this has. We're already up here kind of in the higher area of the chart range. This could easily have just flushed back down. So I just didn't take the risk. I wasn't convicted in this little 1-minute flag out of the open. It's not really what I like to trade. So I kind of took a little 1 cent loss or break even trade here. But what sucks is this play worked out. And the thing to note about this and the takeaway for me here is we did have this pivot here in this upper 180s area, right? High volume push right out of the gates, right? It came back. It's holding the support area. If you're going to take the trade, give the damn thing a chance, right? So I didn't do that. I took mine off. I'm sitting here watching this ask here at 193. That's looking bearish to me, like, oh, this probably just comes all the way down. But look, they rip right through it. It shows its strength. It proves its strength. I could have stayed with this trade. So, I took it off. This is more of a missed opportunity than it is a mistake. It had the high volume push. It had support levels. Buyers were not letting this dip below those support levels. They kept the pressure on those ask walls. Those are all bullish signals that I could have given this trade a chance. So this is a missed opportunity. Didn't have a huge position, but if I stayed with this, like I said, we had that gap to fill all the way to 203, and it did it. So I could have been there with that. So at this point in the morning, I am looking at drug, because if you guys remember on Friday, drug was going crazy. On scans. This was the high volume push right out of the gates that everyone had eyes on. So this initial push all the way up into 230s, I missed it. I'm kind of switching back and forth between AVYA and drug. I don't love to just like jump on the first thing that goes at the open. I like to let things settle down a little bit. And here we're like 5-6 minutes in, so things are starting to make their secondary moves, like this AVYA, kind of put in that 1 minute flag, and now is making new highs, which I missed. Aziz, I do use Bookmap when I trade SPY. I don't use Bookmap when I trade small caps. So here I recognize that the gap fill area was at that 202, 203 level, and I just kind of wanted to test and see if this would let me short on Thinkorswim. It was acting like it was going to let me. You can see right here it says hard to borrow. I just wanted to know if it would let me. The floating order, I wasn't going to mess with that, so I just took it off. Okay, so here, drug, we're planning a trade, right? Okay, so this had a nice high volume push up. Now we have pivots to think about for the pullback. So maybe we get a 1 minute flag, a 5 minute flag, or a pivot play. So looking at this, 221 is the obvious first pivot to think about right here. Now, I was a little bit late switching back to this chart, but look, we already have a 1 minute hold that 221 really, really nice on a low volume pullback, okay? That first pullback to the pivot on a really strong move almost always gets bought. Like if you trade with Mikey Underdog, you can hear him talking to himself sometimes, and he's like, first 1 minute pullback always gets bought. And that's what he's talking about. The first 1 minute pullback to the first level you see almost always gets bought. So you have almost a 10-cent move there already. Now starting to come back and hover down around here, but look, on the 1 minute, it's holding. It's holding right there. Okay. So this was an opportunity. If you were quick and you saw your risk, you could have hit some right here off of 220 and let this thing work. So let's see what happens if you did that. If you had a low 220s average, what would have happened here? Because you're in the clear. You're a few cents above your average, nothing to worry about. Definitely high up here, but a nice strong volume push up and a low volume pullback, which is exactly what you want to see on this VPA. And look, it's getting the break. You're at least pushing that area up here in the 230s. See if it gets high a day. So still very slow morning for me. I'm looking for that high quality look to give myself a trade, and haven't seen anything I love just yet. Missed AVYA, there's opportunity there, and then I missed this drug 221 pivot opportunity there because this thing's given almost 20 cents from that 220 entry. And I remember CMCM was going crazy on scanners, so switched over to this to see what was going on. It was a double halter. Yeah, that could be a flag. We would think of that as like a 1 minute flag, Aziz. I did trade Pxmd, but not until later in the day, Stux. All right, so look, we get a new high a day push there off that 1 minute flag, off that 220 pivot support. So when we play pivots, that's what we're looking for. Strong push up above the pivot. So it's got to get enough past the pivot that the pullback to the pivot is one that makes sense. Okay? It's got to give itself enough of a pullback that it makes sense for that flag, and this is one. Okay, it got all the way to the upper 230s, pulled back, 15, almost 20 cents to 220, and then pivot play, boom, makes a high a day. Okay, so here's what we're starting to notice now on the 1, okay? This is still early in the day, so we're looking at the 1. There's not enough chart data on the 5 to really play. So we got a new high of day, but guess what? It was less volume, and we barely made a new high of day, okay? So that needs to go in your mind as a little bit more of a bearish look than if we just ripped straight through on a bigger volume candle, right? So now I'm putting a bid here at 221 because that's still the pivot. But in retrospect, is that the best pivot for me to play off of? We've already tested it once, and we just put in a weak new high of day push. So this is a mistake. I should have, if I wanted to play this thing, I need to be thinking more on the 5 minute at this point, okay? So we got a nice push up. What makes sense for a pullback on the 5? This ADMA is starting to catch up. So if we pull back to 215, this pivot, that's probably a better pivot to play now because of the weak high day break and the weak volume push. So look, I get filled there. I'm immediately red, right? Because this just wasn't strong anymore. This is the this is the better pivot to try to play off of. And I realized that I add where I probably should have added my first time here on 215, okay? So 215, decent pivot here to play off of. The ADMA is catching up. If this starts to move back up, this ADMA is gonna follow the bottom of it, and we could have a nice 5-minute setup here for the break of new highs. So I was right in adding there off of 215. I was a little too aggressive in adding off of 221, okay? So here I am a little bit red. My average is not as good as it could have been. I'm sitting here at 218. So a move like this, we got VWAP, we've got a pivot, we've got ADMA, the VPA is looking good enough. We're still early in this 5-minute candle, okay? It's 9:41. Let me show you this. On my other screen, I keep this like GPS time thing in big letters off on my other screen, so I can always see what time in the candle it is. Okay. So one thing to note here, if you look at what time it is down here, 9:42, we're only 2 minutes into this 5-minute candle, so it's low volume right now. It already came all the way down. This is our dip. Okay. So, but it could just chill a little bit. It's got plenty of time. And they could still come lower, okay? So 215 is what I'm playing off of. My average is a little bit higher. It's fine, but we really wanted to see this, kind of firm up 215 here. It's trying to, but look, it's already a little heavy. We've got a nice bidder there at 215, so that gives me some conviction to stay in the trade. But I don't have the best positioning on this chart right now. And that weak high a day push is kind of not a great sign. This is going to have to recover pretty strongly to look strong again, and it could, but not the best execution so far. I could have had an average more like 215, 216, I think. So here, we're starting to set up a 1-minute bear flag, and so I take it off, right? It's because it tried to consolidate there, and then it lost that level. I take it off just at the right time, and it pulls down. Now, guess what? We got another pivot right here at 208. This is a low volume dump off that bear flag, and we come down and we do a perfect 8 tap, still within this 5-minute candle that is still low volume pullback. So I do the right thing. I add some back. The thing that I wish I had done is, if I played 10,000 shares off of 215 and I still have conviction in this setup and it's still holding support and I'm trying a new level and I got out basically break even, why didn't I take 10,000 shares again? Once you size up, don't size back down, especially if you take a cut, because then it's going to take twice as big of a move to make back what you took on that cut, right? So drug, still one of the strongest names of the day. I was a little bit late with my fills again, but I did see buying there off of that 205, 206 level, so I slapped some, only 5,000 shares, and now I'm wishing I had more, right? If this goes, I will wish I had more, and that puts me in a backwards position, because then it's like, okay, well, where do I add? If this starts moving back up and showing strength, where do I add? I'm going to wish I had it off of support. So, wishing I was a little bit aggressive. You can even see in my execution of these trades, like why or how emotions are starting to affect me, right? I'm annoyed that I missed AVYA. I took off my position and it went. I'm annoyed that I missed the 221 1-minute flag on drug. I'm annoyed that I'm sitting here fighting, pretty much downward momentum. We just had a bear flag breakout on the one. This has got to basically reverse trend for me to start making money on this thing. So I'm annoyed. I am taking less size. I don't want to take more cuts. I'm realizing there are opportunities that I missed, and now I'm, break even to start the day and not green. So here, just chilling, letting this position ride. How do you control your emotions? That's a tough question. I mean, it's just kind of experience and knowing what you want to see, confidence in your setups. It's a difficult thing. Controlling your emotions is one of the hardest things about trading. Yeah, stock that moolah. I use trade ideas. Here, I'll actually turn on my volume here for a second so you can hear what's going on. On trade ideas, it will spit out the stocks that are making high a day. And so those are the ones that I'll throw on a thumbnail. I have like 12 thumbnails on my other screens that I watch. So I can kind of keep an eye on what is, going around levels that I am interested in, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so there I'm taking 1,000 shares off on this push. I've got 8 cents or so. Not a high volume push up right here, so I'm just trying to hedge a little bit of risk. So I'm down to 3,000 shares here. So I took a little bit on the break above VWAP, which it got stuff, so good idea. But why did I just take the other three off? I know I saw the stuff there, but I'm still above my average, even though it was not a great average. And the stock just gave its first indication of maybe trying to reverse, and all it did was just wick back down through VWAP. I mean, that's not a bullish look, but at the same time, like the chart wasn't dead. I don't know why I sat there and took it off. Okay, I'm over here looking at Forza. Kind of made a move towards VWAP on a little bit higher volume. The overall volume in this thing, not really that interesting. But going back to what I was saying, Mula, once I have those on my thumbnails, then I'm just watching the thumbnails. I want to see high volume push out of the gates. I want to see it low volume pull back to support levels that I've marked. I want to see these things start to play out the way that I think they will. And if they are starting to, then I'll throw them on my main active trader ladder and try to take a position. So right here, I'm thinking maybe this does a 1 minute flag over that 420. But again, the volume is just not convincing here. Sitting here watching it, it's a little bit spready too. If you see on the ladder here, always 2 or 3 cents of spread in there. Okay, and look, it's the VPA is fine, but it pulled all the way back. Not interested in that thing. RVPH got a nice stick. I probably heard it on scans. Drug. Okay, here we are, back to drug. So drug ended up holding that area and grinding all the way back up. And look, I took the rest of my position off of that stupid 1 minute wick. I can't be getting shaken out off the 1 minute. If I take a position and I know what my risk is and I know what my support level is, I scaled a little bit. That gives me the peace of mind to hold with the trade longer, especially since I scaled. Why did I cut? Dumb. Yeah, Jumanji, this will be recorded. I'm going to upload it to YouTube as well. So, from my entry, I had what, 209? We got like 20 cents on that. And there I sold 2,000 shares for 8 cents and I took the rest off for a couple cents. Just dumb. And now, here, what am I doing now? I'm sitting here trying to, pissed off at myself. This is where emotions start to get you. I'm pissed off at myself. I'm like, man, I just missed what I wanted. Let me try to re-enter off this 221, which does 221 make any sense up here? No. Doesn't make any sense at all. Like if this already pushed up over this level, it pushed up over this bear flag level. What I want to see now is probably a pullback to 215, right? A 1 minute flag off of 215 would have made sense. So there I take another break even trade. And really, why am I not sitting on the bid? I know what my support area is. If I want to be on this trade, I know what I want it to see it do. And I am not going to buy, I don't want to buy above there. So I should just be sitting on the bid at 215 if I want this 1 minute flag here. All right, so look at that. We have a little bit higher volume on a red candle. It's kind of a little doji look, but look, here I am trying to buy 221 again. I guess I'm seeing that 80 MA coming up, and I'm seeing this, bear flag support level right here. And this flag looks okay. It could hold there, but I'd take it off again because look at that ask, 470 on the 221. That needs to be my support level, not a resistance level. So take it off again. 215 is the level that I want to see a 1 minute flag set up on. Here, if I'm looking at this chart in real time, that's what I want to see, 215. And there it comes down, does the dip. And look, I don't have my bid. I slap late, so I get filled 3 cents higher. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think, Jumanjis. Okay, so look, I got the look that I wanted. It confirmed 215 support. That's some strength. I see buying, 1 minute flag trying to break out here. I chase on the buying because I want to be in for the break of 230. And look, I'm left with a 220 average when it made this dip to 215, which is the support I wanted. If I would have played this correctly and anticipated the hold of support, I could have gotten more shares here. And now look, I'm having a cut because it stuffed off that push and it was below my average. I got myself backwards on this position because I was not prepared with my bids and I was impatient on waiting for what I wanted to see. So now when we get a little stuff, I got to get shaken out, right? So many missed opportunities on Friday for me, and it can get in your head so fast. But look, it continues to hold that 215. If I had proper entry right here, I could have chilled. Now, this is a bearish indicator, right? This stuff on higher volume when it tried to push up off that 1 minute flag, that's not a great look. But this was my support level. You know, the 1 minute is going to try to fake you out. And so if I was disciplined and prepared with my entries, I could have been chilling here and still been probably above my average right now. Green trade, a little bit heavier size than I had before, and giving this thing a chance. And look, it's starting to recover that dip already. It's the second time on the same name I let a 1 minute wick, stuff wick, shake me out. Okay. I think it's about time to crack open a beer, you know what I'm saying? Sunday, fun day, time for a beer. And look, we're all the way up there again, testing 230. The flag's playing out like I wanted it to, and I am not in. My drink of choice today is a Sierra Nevada. What is this thing called? Sunny little thing, a little wheat ale. Got this little mug to go with it. Feel free to crack one with me if you want. Okay, big ass steps in there. 224, 223. So another little stuff candle. I'm not in. I'm just sitting here watching the damn thing. But this chart's looking nice. It's shaping up pretty good, huh? It's a holiday weekend, Zach. It's never too early for a beer. Hell yeah, PBR. Let's go. Okay, another little stuff candle that they recovered. Okay, but I'm not in. So this thing's just in grind mode. Okay, and look at the 5. Look how the 5 is shaped up. It's just riding the 8. Okay, this is everything you want to see. Nice VPA. You know, this is. I could have been in for this. I could have been in for this off 205. I could have been in for this off 215. The ideal play on this thing would have been slam this here off of 205 or 206 or whatever. You know, get that push above the 220 level. When I got above that 220 level, I should have scaled most because that's a nice single leg push there on lower volume. You know, nothing to get crazy about, but have some runners left, right? And then when you get the pullback and the 1 minute flag set up on descending volume at 215, you slam some back. This could have been a stress-free trade if you just trust your VPA and you're prepared with your levels. Okay, another 1 minute trying to set up here. So look, now it holds 221. We held 215 firmly. We go up, we test highs again. Now we're holding that next level up, which is 221. This is behaving perfectly. There's no excuse for mismanaging this trade. There's just none. So as far as lessons to take forward into this week and going forward, I've got to have my levels. I've got to slam size on my levels and give that stock a chance. instead of just trying to chase when I miss it, instead of, if I do miss something, wait for the next actual setup. And for me, it was that 1 minute flag off 215, and I mismanaged that one too. Okay, so those are the things that I've got to have front of mind when I'm trading going into next week. Find those levels, find the solid VPA, hit that level, accept the risk when I have a proper entry. If I take the proper entry and that thing went against me, that's fine. I'll take that cut and not feel bad about it. Yeah, exactly right, Mula. And that's what can happen when you miss something you should have gotten. Then you feel like, oh man, I got to catch up, or oh man, I got to make up for that, and it can lead to further mistakes. Okay, wait, what did I just add there? I don't know. Let me see where I took that. Did I just miss myself getting back in this trade? Must have, because I have my volume off. Okay. Okay, so I did add off the 221. So here, again, not a great entry. 224 is pretty high. Um, but I've got, I'm already anticipating this next resistance level that I had marked from the daily 235. I'm thinking maybe we get a push up, especially since it's got this little like ascending triangle, little mini ascending triangle look on the one, for a break above 230 to 235. I've got it on 234 just to scale a little bit. Small position because I know I'm high. And look, high volume push up above that break level only made a couple of cents. And then look, we're already giving it all back. So that, not exactly what you want to see. I mean, I'm sticking with this thing, but that I would rather have this been a trigger candle. And if this went all the way up to 235, then it can afford a little bit of pullback and try to support in these levels. But the fact that it just kind of wicked through and is now all the way back down, not really the best look. I'm trying to give this thing room above 221. 3,000 shares is not a huge position for me. I'm okay to let it breathe just a little bit. On the 5, I'm watching for VPA to stay strong and the ADMA. I do watch the 1 a lot more than I watch the 5 personally. Just how I've always learned to trade. But look, I've got this trend line drawn. It's starting to break the trend line. The VPA is okay on this, so I'm sticking with it because I know 221 is my actual support level. So trying to give this a chance here. And it does hold, so I'm still with this stupid thing. Love you too, Scrooge. Bodo. Okay, so we held 221. We're trying to recover. So at this point, if we don't break that pivot 231, 232 or something, it's going to be a lower high. It's not going to be the best look. I can already see there's not a lot of volume coming in for this candle pushing back up. So I'm ready to start scaling some out. And look at that wall. Do you guys see that at 229? Look at this. Look at that huge wall at 229, okay? So I go ahead and take half my position off against that. Now, buyers stay up against it. They're not just immediately scared and flush down. So I'm chilling here in case they chip it. And if they chip it, I'm probably sitting there ready to add because that would be a huge wall to break through. They don't break it. It starts to pull back a little bit. Since I scaled half, I'm giving this a chance to hold up. And what I'm thinking here in my head is maybe this just continues to consolidate high, on higher lows for the 230 break, and maybe a massive move if we get that. But look, they walk it down. Okay, they moved that big seller down. So that's a pretty bear sign. So I go ahead and take it off. But out of all of that, I mean, I got maybe a tiny win out of that last little trade, but like huge missed opportunities on this thing. Yes, Scrooge. I add on brakes at the right times. And the difference there being add on brakes, not enter on brakes. Okay, rarely, especially in this market, will I enter on brakes because right now we're seeing a lot of what I call trigger candles, which is that candle that's supposed to start the spark the start of a move. Bids are falling out. It's coming back down below your support level. It's really not safe to be buying breakouts, especially as your initial entry. Now, if you have a great average and you've managed it really well, and maybe you've scaled some, and now it's coming up to a big wall like that, and the chart is still set up, and then you see the tape speed and that wall start to chip, I will definitely start peppering that wall with it to be in for the break. And the way that I try to think about those is if I already have a position and I'm averaging up into that break, I'm going to try to scale, almost as many shares into the break as I added at that wall. I don't want to be getting so heavy that I get backwards. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now I come and look at Forza. Forza was a name I looked at earlier, if you remember, for this move. It gave it all back. But look, we got an increasing volume through VWAP to a high a day, and now we pulled back on lower volume. I know that's a little bit bigger volume stick, but pulled back on lower volume to support areas. We got 80 EMA in here. We got the 20 EMA here on the 5. This is a pullback that makes sense, maybe 60% or so on this push. So I slapped. I slapped on a thumbnail, and then I added again when I came over here and saw this setup. Now, because I figured that this dip was the dip, especially when we started to bounce back up. So I chased a little bit here, but this is one that I think it put in the dip. I wanted that to be the low, and I want to see it continue. I know my position is not the best on this one, but it was a quick, whippy moving stock. I knew other people were on this as well. I wanted to see if we could get that nice continuation. If you look on the 5, we're only 2 minutes in. We got 3 minutes to go. But that wick right there was the 5-minute flag dip. Okay, so I just needed to get in this as quick as I could. Again, 33, not a great average. I'm right here around VWAP, but let's see what happens. Okay, so we're starting to see a flat top here on 440. Okay, we break above it. Bidders step in. As soon as we get that break, I know my position is not great, so I start scaling a little bit into the break, especially since I don't see like tremendous ramping volume just yet. There's some sellers here, 444, 445. 444 starts getting chipped. 445 is gone. Look, they restack on 444, so I sell a little bit more. But buyers stay strong. The high day is 448. Haven't broken it yet. Pre-market high is 470. That's convenient for me because I like to sell at 469, so I go ahead and put a sell order there just in anticipation. 450 is really the key psych break here, though. Nice volume up against 450. Volume's increasing still. A little bit of a reject off 450, so I scale a little bit more. Reduce my quantity size so I have, smaller chunks to scale out in. Okay, there's 450 break. I scale some into the break. Want to see it continue. Okay, now it's back under 450. We want to see them reclaim 450 pretty quickly here. Little pivot, tap, and go. 448 pivot, tap, and go is the ideal situation to see here. It was a nice volume push. Okay, so they're back under 448. 440 was that next flat top support level there, so let's see if they can hold that. I've already scaled enough to kind of let this ride a little bit up here. Go ahead and try that trend line, just so I'm aware. if this is going to continue in like a trend type fashion, that's kind of where we need price action to hold above. Back up against 450 again. Bidder steps in at 47. Slingshot J, I use OBS to record my screen. Okay, I loved this Holly look. VPA was nice, that little consolidation. And I'm ready to buy right here, but it's whippy, it's spready, it's rangy. I don't want to buy something and then flush 40 cents. But nice sideways consolidation above VWAP 80 MA on the 5. If this, I'm probably thinking here, if this closes that 1 minute with a wick and then, starts to put in price action above 1980, if I start seeing bids above 1980, I might try to slam it and get the immediate move. But I'm not seeing what I want to see there. Okay, so I'm back watching Forza again. It's got a little 1 minute flag set up, almost kind of a 5 minute flag set up now at this point. VPA still looks nice, holding over that 440. I'm small enough that I've just been able to let it work. Okay, 1 minute trying to play out here a little bit. A little bit of thinner stock. You can see those walls just getting eaten right there, back at 450 resistance. Okay, they're back through 450. Nice 1 minute close there. I could have. That's a good question. I mean, I could have. Because you're right. I mean, flat top support, 1 minute flag on it would have been a nice area to add back if I wanted to. I don't know. I think the nature of it just being a little bit whippier, and knowing the flush potential that it could have had just kind of made me not. But it was a nice setup. I totally could have moolah. Nerve. This is a decent look right here. Little 1 minute consolidation above VWAP. I don't like the spread on it. This is also very much backside. Nothing crazy about the volume right now. Just trying to get familiar here. But what I'm thinking is, this little 1 minute consolidation, a pop above this level could easily send it above 10 and 1020. So, the market behavior on this day, though, and really leading up to this, it's just not the type that's giving you those quick pop moves. It's just not the market we're in. And I think there's some price action later in this video that I can kind of talk about, like in other markets, what we would expect to see versus how it's behaving in this market. And when I see that, I'm going to point it out. I don't really know why I'm dicking around with nerve so much here. I guess I'm seeing this like 980 support potentially setting up, and the volume is so low on that pullback after the push up. I think that's what's got me interested. But this is not A plus by any means. I'm just waiting to see any buyers to join. I don't want to be premature and then bids fall out on me. So sometimes I'll, situations like this, like I'll wait to see if buyers do want to come in. My average might not be a little bit better, but I'm hoping to catch with that propulsion up rather than just dangling by a thread on a floor that could just fall out, you know. So we're about 40 minutes into the open here. Um, you know, you can already see how my day is going. I'm probably small green from that Forza trade. You know, missed opportunity on AVYA, missed opportunity on drug. Don't even know if I'm green or red on them. Probably somewhere close to break even. Okay, so we're back at Forza. All right. Um, I took it off, but again, okay, we have a weak breakout on a stuff, you know, high volume, but not higher volume. And then we give it all back, come, you know, all the way back down here. You know, not really the best look. You know, I'm seeing this kind of 5 minute setup here. We do have support off 435. That's probably enough to give this chart a chance since this pullback was low volume still. VPA is still nice here. Not the greatest fills right there at 444, right? Because this has a spread, you know, I could have been a little more patient and maybe sat on the bid to try to get filled down here closer to the real support area. And that's just, I gotta be more disciplined than that. I'm in this headspace now because I've missed these opportunities that I don't want to miss another opportunity, right? And so here I am slapping 10 cents higher. It's a $300 difference in profits just by being too eager to be in. And look how much prices dicked around below my average. I could have easily been in with a lower average on this. And again, you know, I wouldn't even call this A plus after that stuff candle right there. There's nothing pretty about this candle. I know it's higher volume on the one. I think I'm reading in, I mean on the 5. So I'm reading into the 1 and now this is lower volume, this is lower volume. VPA on the 1 looks a lot better than it does on the 5. But the nature of this thing, I know it's kind of working out for me, but damn, I should have been lower. And that's why I'm scaling early too, because, you know, my average is higher. I know it is. So I feel the need to protect myself and take some off there against that 450 when I should have had an average down here. You know, 15 cents taking profit is a lot better than what, 6 cents, 7 cents? Gosh, so much to clean up here. I've got to be much more disciplined about buying around the areas that I know are support and not subjecting myself to this. Like, look at that. I just have to take it off down around my average because, you know, this is just kind of a neutral price action here. There's nothing extremely bullish about it. This is not really A plus. Like, yeah, we got support here. We're above this area. Like, in that sense, it's bullish. But if I'm going to be in, I need to be in down here. And look, I'm trying to buy again in the 440s. I mean, honestly, sitting here doing this stream, like, that buy, it's just embarrassing. You know, I trade with people every day on voice, and we've been doing it for years now, and we know how each other trade. We are comfortable with each other. We maybe even have a little bit of competition with each other, and so, you know, when other people have traded something properly and they're riding it for gains, it can really be difficult to not FOMO into a bad position on the same name, trying not to miss the move. T1000, glad you're enjoying it, man. So, you know, fortunately for me, this thing is grinding up and it's getting above my average, but just, again, having to take more off there just above my average because I'm, you know, doing poor management of this thing. I'm taking it off there again, basically break even. Adjusting my trend line there. Okay, so the VPA on this is still all right. I think that's why I keep fighting with it. And, you know, why I'm sitting here at 443, I don't know, trend line, I guess. But really, support here is 435. I don't really want to come all the way back down there, but 440, 435 is really, you know, Look, I'm slapping again. Dumb, dumb, dumb. You got it, T-Bone. What I'm doing right here after I had a relatively good trade earlier, I mean, that entry wasn't great anyways, but at least I was catching like the first active strong volume move up. What I'm doing right here, even if I get small green trades out of this, this is the type of trade management that makes you give back gains that you previously got on the prior move. You're going back for seconds on something that you shouldn't be. I mean, look at this grind up we have going on low volume right here. Like, yeah, it's working. It's floating up on air. I'm doing the right thing by scaling it above my average here, but like, I don't know why I'm really fighting this thing. I'm trading things that are not setups right now. Yeah. Yeah, no commission above PDT just makes it easy to be like really willy-nilly with your positions, which I like. I mean, I like to be able to be in and out very quickly because I have to be a lot. I'm a discretionary trader. I am a scalper. I need the ability to do that. But you're right. You can take too many liberties doing that as well. And I take it off, and it breaks trend. You can see that seller at 444. He might just be flashing. I don't know. Starts to come down. 440 is that next level of support. I'm probably considering what I'm going to do here, but there's a lot of upper wicks on the 5. Oh, and look, there's the big dump. Okay, so glad I wasn't in for that. At least I had the discipline not to hit that. So I go ahead and switch. Okay. Um, Pxmd. This is the first time I started looking at it. I really like this look. Okay, this is going to be a good example. Okay, I'm glad this is showing up. This, I think, was my first call on the floor on Friday. Um, so, big push up, uh, sells off, find support 463. It's pretty much right off that pivot there. Comes up, nothing crazy about the volume. But sometimes when you've just watched charts for so long, like this shape just spoke to me. Like this shape, I just was like, okay, kind of an inverse head and shoulders look. Like this is setting up, if this holds over this 488 level, this is setting up for a VWAP push. So I like this. So I'm planning a position on this. So if I'm looking at this, that 480s area, that inverse head and shoulders area needs to be my risk. I would love to get entry down there, and I need to go ahead and be preparing myself for a flash dip into this area, and I should have bids. I just should. It might not come, but I need to be there, and I also need to be prepared with any position that I take on this to risk that level. So I don't need to size so much that I can't risk that level. And if I do, then I need to, if I like this candle and this buying and volume that's coming in right here, then I need to stop below that with the bigger size I have. So you can take the same setup different ways depending on how you plan to execute from there on. And you might even have two pieces. Maybe I take 3,000 and I'm willing to risk 20 cents on 3,000, but I add another 6,000 that I plan to stop out of on just 4 or 5 cents. I can do it in a phased manner that way. My stop doesn't always have to be in one place, but know that trade plan going into it. And I wasn't thinking enough about this trade plan because, okay, let me pause this a second. This look right here is gorgeous, right? This little curl up and this little 1 minute consolidation, like this is the type that in a different market explodes to 550 straight out of this. Okay, I love this look. This is a great setup, but let's watch what happens. So I have my first piece of my position here. Okay, here we start to push up. It's chewing through some walls. We have some buys. All right, I'm going to pause this for a second. In a different market, this would be what I call a trigger candle that has follow through and continues. This is the candle that I want to go. That setup that I was just talking about, this is exactly what I want to see, and this is where I want it to go. I play these all the time, and this needs to follow through. In this slower market, I'm seeing this all the time. It gives us the trigger candle that we're looking for, and then bids just fall out. So it's very difficult to trade these. Like you're taking these entries here off of 5, and you want to see this thing go, and you even sometimes, like if you see a wall right here, if you see the tape really speedy, or if you see volume coming in, you might even want to slap into it because you know that move is coming. But watch what happens. Bids starting to fall out. Bidder here at 505. Look, just gone. I don't even know if it got filled. Like, look, there's not even big orders on the tape. Like, it's just gone. And now we end up with a wick. Okay, so let's pause here for a second because this is important. That look right there, I wanted it to go, right? So while I may have been mentally prepared to have support down here and even buys down here, when I saw that trigger candle, that's where I wanted it to go. The stuff on that kind of ruins this for me, and it also takes me out of that mentality to be prepared to play off of support, right? So they stuff it. I'm still in. But that candle is not what I wanted to see. That was my trigger candle that I wanted to go. So there's a bidder, 503. This thing can still set up similarly here, even with that little wick. So that's what I'm hoping it does. Just more consolidation above 5. Now, I stop. What I should have been thinking right here, and I've done BOFO bites on this. I play them all the time. This is annoying. Honestly, this is annoying as fuck to me that I missed this because all the time you guys have seen me talk about a dip and suck below support on the trap. I say it all the time. Let's see if they trap around 5. Let's see if they trap around 5. That's what I should have been looking for here. My head was out of whack. I wanted my trigger candle to go. It didn't go. When we lose that 5 support, I'm gonna replay this. When they lose this 5 support, I stop out. So it starts coming down, it's below 5, I take my loss, and then they trap around 5 and rip this shit up exactly what I wanted to see. And I'm not in for it. Straight to VWAP. It's the move that I called, and I didn't even make money on my own call. So if you look back at this chart, perfect trend line hold, which I did not draw. The chart played out exactly how I wanted it to. It's just in this market, it's got to do these stupid, fake out both sides first type bullshit. And, we know that. We're seeing it over and over and over again. Let me go back to this. We're seeing that over and over and over again, okay? A stuff candle on the trigger candle. Like, this is the trigger candle, ideal scenario, better market, that goes, right? But they stuff it. It gets me out of the right headspace that I need to be in. I need to be ready for that 5 trap. I need to be ready for that 490 flash dip. I need to be prepared for all those scenarios to stay with this trade, because look at this pattern that it's put in. I mean, this is, what? 30, 45 minutes of setup into this thing, and then I'm going to let 2 1-minute candles fuck it all up for me. I mean, in retrospect, this chart still looks beautiful. It still held that same setup that I wanted the whole time. I just let my trigger candle not working get in my head and make me unprepared for the rest of the trade. And I've got to improve on that. What's the moral of the story here? What am I carrying forward into next week? It's finding my support levels and giving my trades a chance off of support levels. So that's the difference in mindset for me between these slower, tougher markets and the hotter ones that we had some days in August. The hotter ones in August, I'm able to slam size, no hesitation, on this setup that I said I liked so much right here, and trust that we get follow through when it starts to go. I can even trigger this move. I can hit 5, 10, 12,000 shares on this thing and be the one that sends it up and have some confidence that we get follow through. This market, that's not the same market. I need to be thinking more about support. I need to be thinking about bids. I need to be thinking about letting trades play out off of support levels and not buying into breakouts. That's the mindset that I've got to shift and be in when the market's a little bit slower. And so I missed that trade. I missed a huge trade. All right, what do we got in chat? Yeah, stop hunt, trap, exactly. Low candle volumes, indication of algo testing liquidity, trap longs, bear see weakness on tape, start selling again, algos. Yeah, definitely. Pure algo games. It's exactly what we've been seeing in this market. 1 minute can definitely fuck you up. The 1 minute also does great for me, so I don't want to shit on the 1 minute too much. I love watching the 1 minute. You can tell from my stream how much I'm referring to the 1 minute, and I know that trips a lot of people up, but that's where I found my success. Okay, party. Great setup here. Nice VPA. I showed you guys on the daily when I went over my watch list why this one was good. Flat top on the one. I mean, the break of this probably tests 218 and then probably goes for highs. So I like seeing flat tops. Flat tops to me are bullish because once they break, they go. Flat tops on the bottom, flat bottoms, they scare me. I think flushes are coming when I see flat bottoms. So took a position on a thumbnail when I saw this thing. I've got bids. This one I am much more prepared to play. This one, 212 obvious support. If this gives us another flash dip to VWAP, I'm ready for it. I'm probably going to do a Bofo bite on that stupid Pxmd. Fuck that thing. I'll do a shakeout. Okay, so clear wall at 144. This is relatively low volume still. Look at this VPA, man. This sideways 1 minute flag is just gorgeous. Flat top break level, higher lows all the way up, riding the 8. Beautiful. You're welcome, Uzis. Okay, so they break that down, right? Nothing crazy about the volume. They start to walk this ask down. Chipping. Chipping. Bidder here, 14. Bidder stepping up. Volume increasing. Tape speeding. I don't really know why I'm not slapping this at this point. I mean, this is everything you want to see. Okay, yeah, I'm slapping too late. Got some, though. Nice big volume stick there against 218. We want to see this continue, hold 216 now and continue through 220. This is a lower range stock, so probably could have afforded to be a bit heavier on this, because what are you going to get, like 10 cents max maybe? Especially from 216, I mean. All right, so we're back up against 218. Wall. Starts to chip a little. There's chipping. I'm adding again some more. This is an example of me adding into the breakout because I feel like this one is strong and I feel like it's not going to whip against me too much. But again, I should have been adding heavier lower. I shouldn't have been adding so much size up this high. Now we want to see a 1 minute flag set up off of 216. And here I'm having to take it off because I got too heavy up top. I'm realizing that. Now I'm thinking, okay, let me add that size back off of 216. Because that pullback to the 216 flat top break level seems likely at this point. There we get it. Flash dip. Another mismanaged trade. I mean, this is just poor trading on Friday. This is the stuff that is worth going back and watching your executions, realizing what was going on with your emotions while you're trading it and making these mental notes to carry forward into the following trading day and improve. Because, rarely do you go back and look at this stuff and just not know what was going on. Like, usually you're very well aware of what was going on, but like it takes visually going back and like repping this out again to drill it into your head about like, okay, like that's where I was fucking up. I gotta improve on that. See you, Diego. Okay, so 1 minute setting up here on 216. I can't remember what I did with this trade. Okay, I buy, I get my 17s back, smaller size right now. But again, I could have been in, 14, 15 and nothing to worry about with my heavier size. So here I am, smaller size, 217. One minute flag looks great. Perfect test and hold of the break level 216. It's a slower moving stock. Sometimes you get faked out by small green candles on the 1 minute trying to buy into a nice pullback. Can you word that a little bit different, Cosmic? What do you mean? Have you ever noticed anything that would give you an indication that a move is going to be a bigger than average move or maybe a setup? It's going to be one of those pop-ups before the big move. Volume, Stephen. I mean, volume is okay. 18 starting to chip here. I did not add um, a higher volume push up is what you want to see. I mean, if you see big volume and then good VPA and then you have nice brake levels, maybe a gap or not much resistance above, there's a lot of things that can indicate that. I mean, it's kind of a combination of how's the tape look, how many shorts are probably trapped from the previous action, is there a big brake level, there's lots of factors. What's the float? For example, the chances of this one, like look at this. There's nothing to indicate that this is just going to randomly be like a huge stick move. Like I said, you're probably going to get 10 cents max on this dang thing. Almost similar to what Steven said. You get faked out by small green candles. Trying to buy. Yeah, see if you can find an example, Cosmic. Okay, so now I get the 220 test. There's the breakout for high a day. That's what we were playing for. Okay, so here I am with 5,000 shares at 217. I'm up $250. I had 12,000 shares on this thing earlier. There's no reason I shouldn't have had 12,000 shares at 216 or lower, right? I should have been up $600 or $700 and not $250. Yeah, I mean, you just got to kind of plan your targets based on levels you find on the daily. You know, sometimes the 200s on the daily, the EMA and the SMA are pretty strong resistance, and they're good targets to have on big, you know, Momo movers. Um, key resistance levels, psych resistance levels, but then yeah, like float. Um, how much volume's traded in the day? I mean, how long is this thing consolidated sideways? Longs versus shorts, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Lots of things can factor into how big a move is going to be. But okay, this is probably the last trade I'm going to go over because we've been watching a whole hour of the open in my trades, and like I had a decent trade on Forza. I had missed opportunities on drug, missed opportunities on AVYA, missed opportunities on party, a missed opportunity on Pxmd. So much for me to improve on going into next week just from watching the open here. And so these are the things I'm going to be keyed in on. I'm going to hit size at support. I'm going to let that shit play out, and I'm not going to be buying poor entries on stuff that I'm having FOMO because I missed. That's what I'm taking away from this. But okay, so we've been on here forever. Anyone who's still stuck around this whole time, if you guys have specific questions or charts or whatever you want to talk about, I'm still just hanging out. In fact, I might pour another beer. Oh, now these are showing. All right, I'm going to grab a beer, and in the meantime, type questions or charts you want to look at or whatever, and we'll look at them. I'll be back in 2 seconds. All right. also, I'm going to turn some lo-fi beats back on. Where'd that go? Here we go. Some background ambiance music there. Here we go. Okay. Do you watch The Spy while trading? Yes, I do watch The Spy while trading. So Friday, for example, let me turn this down. It's kind of loud. All right, Spy, for example, let's pull that up. Like this, like a $10 move on Spy. Spy doesn't really like affect small cap action that much, really, but a $10 move on Spy is a pretty big red candle for Spy. Like market sentiment just kind of shifts when you see that. So like Friday, it was Friday before a long weekend. Spy shitting the bed into the afternoon. Like I was really dumb for continuing to try to fight the market on Friday afternoon, and that's why I couldn't get anything going. It was like win a trade, lose a trade, or win one trade, lose two trades, and it just ended up being a little more red, you know. So yes, I do watch Spy, and it does matter, I guess, a little bit. How long before you sized up? Sizing up is a relative thing, because like there was a few months ago where I was literally just trying to make $250 a day, and then I was just trying to make $500 a day, and then I was just trying to make $600 a day, and then I was trying to make $1,000 a day. And so in terms of size, like it's really about having that confidence in those setups before you start taking size. There was something that happened for me in July where I started, like, there were a few setups that I would see on the chart that were just like no brainers. Like I just fucking felt them in my soul. It was like, no, I don't need anyone's opinion but mine. Like, this is beautiful. Boom, hit it. And once I started seeing a few of those, it really gave me a ton of confidence to build on in those setups, to continue to look for them. It makes it where it's easy to stay away from ones that are not those setups. And so, you know, once you start feeling that in your soul is when you want to start sizing up. I think until then, you're going to chop around. What made you into a consistent trader? A lot, man. I mean, just fucking, you got to be passionate about it. You got to work your ass off on it. You got to show up every day and try to be a little better than you were the day before. And it's one of those things. It's like, I think you're either moving forward or you're either moving backwards. Like, you can't just like, oh, I've made it and then now I don't have to do anything. Like, no, man, I had my best month ever in August, and I'm ready to come into September and buckle down and work harder than I have before, because it doesn't stop here. But risk management is huge. Like, if you don't have risk management, you're going to get nowhere. Like, I had, for probably a year, I've been profitable, consistently profitable. Like, if you look at my win rate, it's high. If you look at, you know, my ability to make, you know, money most days, it's high. But for a long time, I would have 1 or 2 days a month where I would do just something fucking stupid and just give back most of my gains. And so it made me chop around for a while, and thankfully that's, you know, reduced a lot. Ricardo, I love you too, brother. Yeah, RVPH is nice. Spy trade with bookmap. I haven't been trading Spy very much. I mean, when I do trade Spy, I like to join trends. So like when I trade Spy, I like to trade it off the 5 minute once I identify a trend, and then just buy off the 8. You know, this would be puts off the 8, puts off the 8. Until it fails. But I really don't trade it very much anymore. Thoughts on the zone approach? Tommy has a trading. Ever tried it? Great. Yeah. So Tommy's zones, I don't really trade zones. I like levels, but the thing to keep in mind about levels is that zones and levels are the same, because I don't like even though I have this 165, it's really a zone. Like 165 is that pivot, but if it doesn't hold exactly 165, I can't be that tight about it. Like it could come down to 60. Like this could be the same. Like let's say instead of that level I had this zone, right? This could be a zone. And look, this could be a zone between my two levels. Right? Also, don't worry too much about like, are my prices exactly the same prices that Tommy has on his levels? Like your back testing could be different than his back testing, and you know what you want to see. So like for me, I like this flat top consolidation here off of 160. That's a good level to me. And then you have the pivots here at 165. I like to play off pivots, but I know that when it comes down in this area, it could easily come down to 160 as well, you know? So I'm playing levels, but in my mind, I'm still playing zones, if that makes sense. Okay, these all seem like market orders. Yes, I do pretty much always do market orders because a few reasons. I will sit on the bid. I will do limit bid orders if I'm anticipating price coming down. I will put bids, and I really need to be doing more bids than I did in that video that I showed you. Other than that, like if I'm trying to catch momentum, I'm buying market because I want to get filled on all of my shares and I want to add to the buying pressure that's going up. Nothing worse than trying to even slap the ask and only 300 of your shares get filled and you get a green trade but you make 30 bucks. Like nothing worse than that. So I pretty much always market order because I want to get in and out with my full size. Favorite setups. I like flags, I like pivots, and all variations of those. I like inverse head and shoulders, I like cup and handle, I like ascending triangle. And then there's just some looks like this Pxmd. And this is the one that was in that, like this is kind of a flag, this is kind of an inverse head and shoulders, I don't really fucking know, but I just really like the look. Like some things they just speak to you and you just kind of know, you know, what's coming and what you want to see. So, you know, it's really just like I know how to use my levels. I know what bullish charts look like. I know what I want to see. I know what trap levels I want to play off of. Like if I can just keep my mind going and like plan all that ahead of time and then just really respect that stuff and, you know, really respect that stuff with my entries, I'm a fucking awesome trader and I know it. It's when I deviate from that stuff and I let my emotions get the best of me and when I get pissed at myself and try to make up for it, like that's when I get in trouble. Boot camp baby, what's up, Fresh? Thanks, Cosmic. How do you manage your funds after a month-ending balance? So I still have my job. I don't trade full-time yet, and so that has allowed me to not have to take any money out of my trading account ever. And so I'm just trying to stack and build it as much as I can. So I don't really do anything to manage my funds. I just let it grow. I'm trading shares pretty much all the time. I'll do options every now and then. Like I did a SPY puts play off of 430 when it was up there just because I felt like it had to come down and did nicely on it. I bought October, so I gave myself a couple months. But I haven't been trading SPY as much. It's been tougher for me. Yeah, I still work Gazelle. Did you ever have an issue with not cutting fast or averaging down? Yeah. Did I have an issue with not cutting fast? Maybe. That's kind of long behind me though. I mean, you can kind of see in the way that I trade, like I cut things very quickly, almost like too quickly sometimes, but that's because I also am willing to add at not the exact right levels. So if you're going to take an entry that's not exactly at that fucking perfect entry level, then you have to be someone that cuts it quickly too. Like you just can't do one and not the other. So I mean, you see me, like I'm in and out and I'm in and out and I'm in and out. And that's because that's how I manage my downside risk. I take a lot of cuts, but they're small cuts. So the hardest part for me has been holding for bigger moves and not taking profits off the table too fast. So that's something that I've like tremendously improved at through August. So one thing what did I do to improve about like not cutting fast enough or averaging down? One thing that Mikey and Herb have drilled into my head big time is like they do not let positions go against them. They just don't. Because here's something that Herb said to me one time and it really stuck with me. Like when he enters a trade, he is entering at what he thinks is the exact right place to enter for the trade. So if that starts going against where he entered, then he was immediately wrong. He was wrong, so he cuts it. Like he wants to enter where it's about to go back up. And if he doesn't start to see price action confirm that, then he just says, I'm wrong, and he cuts. Takes that tiny little paper cut loss. And so that's a great way to think about it. It's obviously not as simplistic as that. And for that reason, we end up taking a lot of those small little cuts because we're wrong a lot. But it keeps us from taking big losses. And then when something does go your direction, if you can hold and let it play out, your wins end up being bigger than your losses. And that's what you want. Let's see. What's your advice to avoid the back end of trades and not go long in retracements, but reversals and continuations? You know, backside trades, they just have a lower probability, but they can still work. I mean, if you see great VPA and a beautiful flag on a nice new fresh volume push, sometimes it's worth taking that trade. It's just because not all the stars are going to align every time. So sometimes it's worth taking that trade, but you've got to keep in mind what type of market are we in, what else is running, where's everyone else's attention. You know, what's the chart context? Like maybe you get one little leg out of it, but you're not greedy and you scale profits quickly in that scenario. But yeah, I mean, fresh new momentum, day one trades above resistance, those flags are going to be the strongest for sure. What's my day job? I am a healthcare real estate consultant. I work from home. But my work is project based. It's really nice for me. It's something I'm good at and have done a long time, and I do a good job of balancing both, and I'm fortunate that it allows me to trade a lot. Miso, thanks, brother. Guess you're using mental stops. Yes, I do use mental stops. See, I almost rarely ever use hard stops. The only time I'll use hard stops is if it's a pretty smallish position and I've already taken some profits and I'm literally just letting runners ride because the chart's still intact and I want to focus on something else. I'll use hard stops then, but it's kind of rare. Okay, I think I flew through all of those. Questions. Is there any more before we wrap this shit up? I am planning to add this to YouTube. I got all my social accounts set up. I'm going to try to be more active about that stuff too. I'm really trying to take my trading career to the next level, and so I'm trying to be around more, be out there more. I'm going to try to put more alerts on the floor and stuff. So hopefully you guys like this. If you have any feedback or any ways you want to see it improve, let me know. I don't really have a schedule yet, Aziz. I'm going to try to do like one of these weekend study scan things a week, and I'm going to try to do like some like after hours chats like I used to do in Real Ones if you guys were around, maybe a couple times a week. And then I'm going to try to do my BOFO bites and stuff. But glad you guys enjoyed this. I'll try to get this uploaded to YouTube. But anyways, all right, we'll bounce. We'll call it a day. We've been on here a long time, so I will catch you guys later.